Fill all my vision, every desire, keep for your glory, my soul inspired, and with your perfection and your holy love, flooding my pathway with light from above. And fill all my vision, Savior divine, till with your glory my spirit shall shine. And fill all my vision, that all may see your holy image reflected in me, reflected in me.
Good afternoon. My name is Jason Goodson, and I'm here with Johnny Taylor, and this is Coffee and Conversations. Today, I'm on a mocha trip. I have depleted JT's stash of hot chocolate mix in my coffee today.
Yeah.
And I am enjoying the last few sips of it, even as we speak.
Yeah, I never did make up any of that this Christmas.
It's okay.
Still
I'll forgive you for you later on.
finishing off last year's batch.
It's kept real well, so, you know,
Yeah,
it's
there's
over a year
really
old,
nothing
so
in it that ruins, so.
it's really good. I'm also a seasoned veteran of wood floors. As a matter of last Saturday, my father, who just recently purchased a home, asked us to help pull up these wood floors. Now, to pull up a wood floor is not an easy task.
This is one glued to concrete, I assume.
This was glued to concrete.
Yeah, that's not like an old house wood
So,
floor.
yeah, I thought, we'll walk in, we'll do a little chipping, we'll pulling up, it'll be fine.
Not to glued wood, no.
And we did it the old-fashioned way. We earned it. It was...
You mean you didn't get one of those little vibrating scraper things? Power scrapers?
they have these things that you can sit on now. Is that what you're talking about?
I don't know if you said on. I've seen the ones that's got the blade and they vibrate across there without you having to.
This was, when I talk, we went to the dark ages on this thing. There was a tool that was there. It was probably about, 6 foot tall. And at the very end of it is triangle. At the very end of it. And you slap that triangle against the floor to bring up the wood.
Yeah.
And then we had a straight edge tree trimmer, like a bark trimmer.
For scraping bark
off
you
of
run
wood.
it through a sawmill.
Yes.
Bark has dirt in it.
Yes. And that's what Justin used. Now, I was on that triangle tool, and Matt was had a hammer and a 2-pound sledge and a chisel with that. I'm gonna tell you something. It wore me out.
Oh, that kind of works. Always fun especially when you're not used to that particular thing.
It was fun for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I thought, we're going to be here for the rest of the day. And we were. I come away with a sprained wrist. I've got a right, a right wrist that looks abnormally different than the left one.
That's not good.
But I've chose not to wear my brace because I didn't want to look like a wimp out in public, except last night. And I didn't care in front of you guys. So,
yeah.
Interesting. Some interesting things on this day in history, JT.
Yeah.
I've got a couple I want to share with you. Cinderella was released on this day in 1950.
It's been a while.
You know, I didn't think it was that old. But
It
is.
was released before I was born.
That's crazy, man. I was thinking because my daughter loves it. She loves watching it. It was released. It opened to the theater and to the public in 1950. And another interesting fact, I went through and looked through these, sports related, and being at the time of year of the Daytona 500. It's the new season of the NASCAR race. I don't know why I'm so fired up about races. I'm in, man. I don't know why. I dove head in, man. I've watched every little thing about Daytona that they put on the.
Yeah.
And that just shows the redneck in me, I guess. And Dale Earnhardt, on this day in history, won his first and only Daytona 500, 1998.
Interesting.
3 years before he was killed at Daytona.
Yeah, on the last lap.
On the last lap.
I was actually watching that race on TV
Did you?
when that happened.
I think that's what got me into NASCAR. Because I saw it that day, too. I was in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Kathy and I were... No, we weren't in Hattiesburg. Where were we? Yes? No? We were in Fort Worth, Texas. And it was I was a semester into my cemetery work.
Yeah.
Notice I said cemetery. I've got a frustrating thing. I can't pass this up, JT. I'm just in that mood right now, and you just have to forgive me.
Yeah.
And I might have to say I'm sorry later on, but
This could be an interesting podcast today. We're both in kind of weird moods at the moment.
I'm probably real sick and tired of shaming people to church
Yeah.
for any reason whatsoever, and trying to make people feel bad about not doing something. Just because we are Christians, just because we have this label on us.
Yeah.
I get tired of us bashing somebody for not doing something that we think that they should be doing. And that's all I really. You don't have to go to church to be a Christian.
Uh-oh.
You don't have to.
He said it now.
I'm a youth pastor, and I believe that.
Well, part of that would be that we are the church. That thing we call church that's a building where people meet is not the church.
Okay. And even if we say we are the church.
Yeah.
All right. And we use that tactic to bring people to church just for one day a week.
Yeah.
Then we're still misrepresenting that whole situation there.
That's what I'm saying.
And if we go back to
we're calling a building the church, which it's not.
quit using scripture to make your one day a week work.
Yeah.
Because if we want to use scripture correctly, we'll meet every day and we'll share the bread with one another every day. And we will enjoy the time of fellowship with one another and breaking of the bread and sharing in fellowship. That would be true laid out Acts chapter 2 version of church. Yeah. Now, I'm sorry, JT, I couldn't pass that up. That's all I'm going to say about it.
Yeah.
But how do we get ourselves caught up in that junk? I mean, what thrives us to do that? Is it some guilt?
Our flesh loves it.
Is there some guilt on the inside that leads us that way? I mean, what is that? I mean, is it something we feel bad about self with?
Yeah. If we're not what other people think we ought to be.
And does it freaking matter?
No, but that's still how we look at it.
Very disturbed. Hey, listen, do you hear this? I think I hear the sound of abundant rain coming. You think I'm not just being coy. I'm being serious. There's,
Oh,
I don't know. You caught me in a weird mood. There's times where I just want to go, you know what? Let's get it right if we're going to say it. Let's do it.
yeah.
I mean, goodness gracious.
If you're going to claim scripture, then you better be looking at what it says, all of it.
And don't use it for your agenda.
Yeah.
Gosh. It sickens my stomach. Anyway. Okay, so on to happier things here. Spring training starting this week.
Oh, yeah.
Texas Rangers are going back to spring training, and they have been given no hope once again. And I love it. I don't want them to have any hope.
Yeah.
All the naysayers can keep going. No hope for the Rangers. They caught lightning in a bottle. They've done all this stuff. Well, great.
Yeah.
Let them catch lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Let them have that little flavor on their little tail ends. And no, that's fine with me. I guess I'll suffer through another long season of watching the Rangers lose again.
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't lose last year. They went to the World Series. That's right. They're the ones that represented the American Leagues. They're the one that beat the Yankees to get there. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. I just have a renewed sense of hope, JT, all of a sudden.
Maybe they'll spend $30 million a year and get Albert Pujols.
Dude, that would be insane.
I don't think anybody's going to spend $30 million a year and get him.
That would be insane. I'd put him on the field, though. Would you reject him? No.
No. I wouldn't pay him $30 million.
I wouldn't pay him
though.
$30 million. Nobody's worth $30 million a year.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
I think the owners are about to draw the line on this
They need to, man.
kind of spending on players.
Yeah, it was ridiculous when A-Rod got his salary.
Anyway.
I'm telling you, man, I might chase you a rabbit today. Kathy's feeling better.
That's good.
I'll tell you that right now. She is extremely, she's having conversations again. That's nice.
Yeah.
Just for the trigeminal neuralgia stuff is the vitamin D, the miracle drug that nobody knew about.
Yep.
You realize that if your vitamin D stays at the right level between 60 and 80, that the body repairs itself based on the vitamin D level it has on the inside.
Yeah.
If we spent more time out in the sun, we'd live longer.
I thought that'd kill us. According to science.
According to the lady that gave us the medicine, she says that's baloney.
Well, I always remember our family doctor way back when I was a small kid always told our mom, good tan's a good thing for you.
That's
Get
what
out in the sun.
Well, that's what this lady was telling us.
Yep.
She said the sun don't give you skin cancer.
You just get it probably because you.
It's the lack of the ability of the cell in the skin to reproduce.
Yeah.
And then when it misfires and it builds up, it produces a cancer that's not supposed to be there. It's an abnormal cell.
Yep.
I was blown away, man. I just wanted to sit there and listen to it for the rest of the day, but we only had like an hour. So
hey, you can go out in the sun now.
I'm fired up about it, man. I don't think you want me to take my shirt off anytime soon. You know. But we're both on vitamin D now.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna try out some Cantron and see if it can help my allergies.
I'm in, man. I'm in with you.
Yep.
I've seen it work on my dad, man.
Yeah.
And that stuff, he's been on it for almost 2.5 months now, or 3 months, close to 3 months now.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you something. Left lung clear, and most of his right lung.
Yeah.
That just freaks me out right now.
Yeah.
Homeopathic. You believe that? I mean, just seriously. That God created that.
It makes sense that our body has the ability to heal itself if it's in everything's
right
in the right
spot.
order.
Gosh, so amazing.
So anyway,
JT.
I'm just in a strange mood. I was kind of fired up earlier because I got this story running around in my mind that I want to put down on paper. And it's just a lot of work to put the story down on paper. And I'm not really
Dude, what
great
you need
at
to
it.
do is you need to sit here and record it into this deal here and get your ideas down.
Yeah.
And, man, you know what I want? I'll help you write it.
Yeah.
I'm in for it. And JT has got a great. I'm not going to share it. We're not going to share it with you because you steal it and you republish it, and we're going to find you.
I don't know that it's that good, but I kind of like it.
JT is that good, and I think you need to allow this process to work. I think that would be a good summer project.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't take me long to just sit and tell it.
No.
And some more needs to be added into it, but most of it I have.
You can sit and tell the story, but once you sit and tell the story, I mean, it's just a matter of filling in the blanks.
Yeah.
And once you do that, it's,
Yeah.
it's God-given, man. It's good, man.
An allegory.
Yeah, man. JT's a poet and he didn't know it. It was good, man. And I see he sat and pitched me the idea earlier, and man, I'm just sitting over here listening to him, just going, man, where does he come up with this stuff? Man, it was good, man, good stuff. But you've had that Bible study about following God for a long time.
Yeah, that came.
So I mean,
that originated at Lake Forest Ranch staff meeting
90
Bible study. Way
I want to say 97, 96 or 97.
I can tell you the first.
Missy Ferris was at the time Missy Nettles now, but
Yeah.
she's the one that did the illustration with you.
Yeah, her and
You
Jim
did it
Mack.
once. Yep. Yep.
And I'm trying to remember who the other person was. I can't remember.
I can't remember either. It's good.
But anyway.
It's a good illustration. We'll talk more about it later, but
Yeah.
good stuff. Okay, I got a question for you, JT.
What's that?
Okay, now, this is random at best, but this just okay. When did you know that God set you apart for Himself? Like when did that? I mean, did you have a moment other than salvation? I'm just talking about
Vicksburg, Mississippi.
Okay.
Sitting in a friend's apartment. Acts 4:17.
Acts 4:17. Hang on a second here. Acts 4.
Acts 4:17. When I was 19 years old. That's a long time ago. long time ago.
Was it 4:17 or 17:4?
Now, let me see. I can tell you.
But in order that it may spread no further among the people, let us warn them to speak no more to anyone.
4:13, not 17. Sorry about that.
Oh, hey.
I knew it was 4, and I just got the wrong number there.
Now when they saw, oh yes, I remember this. Now when they saw the boldness of Peter and John and perceived that they were uneducated, common men, they were astonished, and they recognized that they had been with Jesus. Wow. What part, do you remember what apartment or where it was? Or did you have
sitting in Paul Stupka's apartment with Larry McClendon.
Oh my goodness.
We were there sharing or doing something. I can't remember what, or maybe just went down to go to church or something.
To visit?
Just hanging out. We were
because you were a Christian, you went to church? Sorry.
Well, we were in Anguilla, Mississippi, cutting soybeans in the Delta.
Oh, was that when you were working on the?
Yeah, and it was like we left Sunday morning and went down there because it was close by, and went and saw him. And
now, leading up to that point, was it something that you had thought about before? Was it something that hit you, bam, right at that moment? And there it was.
I think ministry stuff and everything I thought about, but I just didn't think it was a possibility. And God kind of used that scripture to say, pretty much anything's possible.
Right.
Really don't matter what you know. It has to do with me and being with me. That's what it has to do with. Which is interesting because that's right along the allegory story. But that's at a later time.
Yeah, but I'm thinking, the stuff that, the reason I ask that is because came home probably around the age of 17 or 18 years old. Second year at Lake Forest, work staff, post-summer, coming back home and standing in front of the church and giving a report about the summer, and just having this this moment of God going, "You're going to do this."
Yeah.
And I thought it had just simply I thought it was just youth oriented all the way through.
Yeah.
Interesting, however, it's right before I was sent off to go to school at East Texas Baptist University, and and all this stuff that we're sitting at Kevin and Joni's place, and when that moment she said something to me and spoke almost this sort of prophetic word over my life. She basically said that you're going to come back here and you're going to start a church. And I think what we do fellowship wise is church.
Yeah.
And I see it happening.
Yeah.
But I certainly looked at it like she was crazy at the time that she said it. But here's what kind of grabbed my attention and grabbed my heart at the moment. And one of those things where I felt like my dad mentioned to me, during that whole time, that he stood up and said, when Jason was a baby, we dedicated him to the Lord and set him aside and told God that you can do whatever you want to with him. And that was kind of almost that realizing that moment that, whatever is going to happen is going to happen. But I was young at the time, and I remember I was around 18, just thinking, whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to follow you, God, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't know what that looks like, and I did it real legalistically for a long time after that.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't know what all was going to happen, what it was going to look like. And, I don't know. I want to say that ever since then in some way my eyes have looked towards God in some manner or some form, and not necessarily for good reasons. And you know what I'm saying? But I think a lot of it was selfish too in my motivations on several areas. But once I started looking towards God and seeing that there was hope and that there was something that was there that he was going to do, and my life was just, I was on a different path from that point on. So
yeah, well, it was like that day for me in Vicksburg, of just knowing from that day forward. I don't know what it's going to look like, don't know where it's going to be, what it's going to be, but ministry is what I'm going to do.
Right. Right.
I may work at other jobs, but ministry is going to be my main thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that has never changed since that day.
Cool. It's interesting.
So, that was 29 years ago, so.
29 years ago. Man. I was almost. Wow. How old am I now? I mean, I'm getting old, JT. 13 years ago for me? No, it's longer than that.
How old are you now?
I don't want to talk to you. About 20 years.
Okay.
Been about 20 years ago. Close to, about 19 years ago. That just blows me away, dude.
He's pushing 40.
All right, let's talk. Yeah, let's talk about something else real fast here. Okay, on the subject.
Yeah, I was going to say, I left 40 behind quite a while ago. I'm pushing 50.
Okay, so let's look at some of these scriptures, and just in relation to that, because two real good ones. You mentioned one, 2 Chronicles 20:12.
Yeah, to me, these are tied together.
You're right.
Let's see here.
There's two distinct verses. 2 Chronicles 20:12.
2 Chronicles 20:12 says, "O our God," and the situation here is the people, The countries that God told Israel to leave alone when they went across the wilderness are now coming against them now that they're in the promised land.
Right.
And they don't quite see how they're going to get out of getting wiped out here. And this is part of their prayer. It says, "O our God, will you not judge them? For we have no power against this great multitude that is coming against us, nor do we know what to do, but our eyes are upon you." That's funny because in the same sentence they said they didn't know what to do, but they were doing what they were supposed to do.
I think they were at that point of going, there's nothing else we can do, is there?
Yeah.
I mean, what else is there to do
Which
other
is
than
exactly
go?
what they were supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting if we would just start there.
And know not what to do. We never start there when we know not what to do, usually.
We don't know. We panic. We stress. We throw all things, everything becomes so self-indulged in our flesh. And so what happens is the world becomes dim. The world becomes we start blaming, everything else on, basically the argument becomes with self more than anything else.
Well, it's interesting, their prayer here, too, because at least they were asking the right thing, because they were asking their prayer based on God's character and not on what they'd been doing.
Right.
They weren't saying, well, God, we did all these things, and now these people are here, and I've served you, and haven't I always loved you? All that kind of stuff.
Man, they had generations and generations of people that they could look back on and see that stuff. Yeah. But at the same time, when you're living it, it just doesn't seem that easy.
There's 3 armies out there. They're going to come get us.
It said there's a horde after them. That's a lot, by the way.
Yeah. Well, you got 3 large kingdoms that have come against them together.
There's no match for, there's no match for God in Him going before them. And I think that was the point of realizing, if you don't go before us, we ain't no hope.
Yep. If you don't do something based on who you are, we're in trouble.
Interesting, huh?
Yes. But I love that. But our eyes are upon you.
Eyes are upon you. Now listen, if we keep our eyes here, what are we going to focus less on?
The problem.
We're going to focus less on here.
Yeah.
The problem, yes. That's exactly right. And I guess stepping out of selfishness and stepping out of, that, it's so against what we know.
Yeah.
We can sit here and analyze it all day long, but the thing is, it goes against every fiber of our being.
Well, one of the things there is that we think we know what's best for us.
Right.
And when that ain't happening,
right,
that's when we're,
oh man, those days. We pray for the Lord to send the rain.
Yeah, we don't want to look. We want to look at things that we can control.
Right.
Keep that illusion that we're in control.
It just don't work.
No. And we even try to spiritualize our illusion of being in control by saying, well, if I do this and do all this right, then God's going to bless me.
Right.
That's just more illusion of control.
And I could, I bet you and I could sit here and conjure up all kinds of ways that would work.
Yeah.
And make it sound really pretty. And in the process of making it sound really pretty, we could convince a lot of other people that was the way of it.
Yeah, see, we can sit here and we can come up with reasons. Well, ministry's not quite what we thought it was. We must have not had enough faith. And we're really making the excuse trying to say that God doesn't have us in the best place for us.
Right. We don't have, JT, we don't have the support So God must not be in what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that how it would be?
Yeah.
That's, I mean, and believe me, there ain't no amount of papers we can sign to correct that situation.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is this, is that if that really mattered, we'd be talking about it all the time.
Yeah.
It would be on the forefront of what we're doing. And apparently, and thank God it's not, because, if God ain't going to do it, then we ain't going to do it.
We ain't going to do it.
Yikes, man. All right.
On to.
We'll see 1 Kings 18:41. And Elijah said to Ahab, I'm sorry, that just kind of weird, funny, memory just hit me all of a sudden.
What's that?
And Joab said, run. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. Nobody will get that, but.
Jamin Pelkey?
Jamin Pelkey.
Yeah.
Philip Wood.
I would. There's a few people out there.
Well, that just absolutely kills me. Okay, so Elijah has just brought down, through prayer, by the way, he's just brought down and basically, God threw fire from heaven and basically consumed the altar that was full of water and all the trenches, and how'd they just soak it like 7 times over or something like that? And
yeah, I was going to say, you really don't want to get on the wrathful side of God.
Yeah, you think about that.
You want to stay on the merciful side of God.
There are so many pictures there you could paint of that. I mean, it's really.
I mean, it's not by your own doing that you get on the merciful side of God. So,
I mean, Ahab's up there with Elijah, man. He's witnessing this whole thing going on. Yeah. What do you think, man? They hadn't had rain in 3 years because Elijah prayed that the rain would not come for 3 years, that the rain would stop.
It's funny that Ahab ain't got rid of the false prophets by now, considering that the rain had not come for 3 years.
Exactly. I mean,
kind of stupid on his part.
It's another example of that verse in 2 Chronicles.
It's Jezebel.
It's, yes.
Sad situation.
Swayed by a woman.
The things that wanting to be married will get us.
Yeah.
Scary.
And so Elijah, they haven't had rain for 3 years. He's kind of been this, he was a bad dude, man. And I'm not being bad as a mean way, but he had God on his side, man. And buddy, and God was going before him. And it seemed like whatever Elijah was speaking, God was doing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't pretty.
No.
But God was showing forth his power.
Yeah.
Through all this.
And Elijah was having no mercy on the false prophets.
No, that's what I'm saying. There was nothing that he held back there. All right. So if you're going through a 3-year drought, number one, it's going to be hard for you to see rain coming anyways.
Especially when there's no clouds.
Especially when you look up and it's clear blue outside. A couple weeks ago before we got that snow that came in, like the day before or the day of, the night it came, I was thinking to myself, I told Kathy, I was like, look at this sky out here. How's it going to get as cold as it's going to get?
Yeah.
And buddy, if it didn't show up, boom, lickety split. Anyways, verse 41, 1841 says, Elijah said to Ahab, go up, eat and drink. And I love this. And this gets overlooked so much, JT. And I've looked all through kinds of scripture, references and people writing about it. And it's very rarely talked about.
Yeah.
And it says this, and Elijah said to Ahab, go up, eat and drink, for there is a sound of the rushing of rain, or the abundance of rain, it says in the New King James, I believe.
Yeah.
All right. So it says, for there is a sound of the abundance of rain. So to Ahab, that was ridiculous.
Yeah, Ahab's probably thinking, are you crazy? Of course, yeah, I think you are. You just lopped off the heads of all the other prophets with a sword. Ahab's reaction may have had nothing to do with faith.
You think he was scared of Elijah a little bit?
Probably a little bit.
And so in verse 42 says, so Ahab went up to eat and to drink, and Elijah went up to the top of Mount Carmel, and he bowed himself down to the earth and put his face between his knees. Now, we'll see a lot of people comment on that verse right there.
Yeah.
And the reason that he does that is because he knows what's coming.
Yep.
He knows what's been before him. It's all been part of a relationship that's come before him, that he knows the power of God through him.
He's speaking when he hears the Father speak.
Yes. And that, what else, where else do we hear that?
And the Father said the rain is coming.
Jesus? And he said to his servant, go up now and look toward the sea. And he went up and looked and said, Ahab, there's nothing. There's nothing, he said. He says, go again. Seven times. Do you think on the inside he's laughing a little bit? Let's go up 7 more times.
And the guy walking up there is like, what the heck am I doing?
I don't want my head to be next. No, that's not it. And at the 7th time he said, verse 44, behold, a little cloud like a man's hand is rising from the sea. So on the 7th time he sees this little bitty cloud. All right, what do you think he's thinking at that point? What's that cloud going to do, right?
Yeah.
And he said, go up, say to Ahab, prepare your chariot and go down, lest the rain stop you. All right, so this little cloud that forms up out of the sea, no bigger than a man's hand, is about to produce a thunder, a downpour, an abundance of rain. Okay? In a little cloud, while the heavens grew, in a little while, the heavens grew black with clouds and wind, and there was a great rain. And Ahab rode and went to Jezreel, and the hand of the Lord was on Elijah, and he gathered up his garment and ran before Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. I think he knew it was coming, and he said, "See you later, pal. You can choose to stay here if you like, but I'm out."
It's funny because Ahab left ahead of him in a chariot, which is pretty doggone fast.
Now, let's look at this in a means of some pictures here. Okay.
Yeah.
The dry land, number one.
Okay. If you've ever been around where it hasn't rained in a long time and the heat is just stifling.
Fort Worth, 1999.
Yeah. It's easy to remember.
I was working on the grounds crew.
Yeah.
And I've never seen cracks in the ground like that before. We didn't have grass to cut.
You were mowing the dust.
We were mowing dust. And therefore the rain song was as a result of that experience. Now, the interesting part is that that's such a great picture of way we feel spiritually a lot on the inside.
Yeah.
That there's this dry, vast, barren land within, and there's no hope for a coming rain. It's because we continually fight with self. We continually argue with ourselves over the idea that this is never going to go away, that I'm never going to have what I want. I'm going to die. All this stuff's going to happen. Okay. But here's the second picture is that belief is drawn out of seeing what we know is coming.
Yeah.
In other words, Elijah hadn't seen a cloud either, by the way.
Nope.
I think he spoke what he believed at that point because he knew what was coming.
Yeah.
Because he knew. And James points this out in the book of James. He talks about him being a righteous man and praying and being fervent. And it was one of those things where it talks about him in this idea that there was 3 years of drought, and then he prayed, and then rain came.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, he just, and this is why I think Ahab believed, because Ahab just seen fire come down out of heaven and lap up the water on the ground that they'd poured on the altar. Right.
And there wasn't much water to lap up. I mean, what they poured on there was there, but the cisterns were dried, everything.
Yeah.
So I think the picture is that, in due time for us, as we get to see a glimpse of, and whatever that rain is, I mean, the mercy of God towards you.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Showing up in the form.
It's pretty easy to know what the rain is because you know where the dry is.
Exactly right. Yeah. I mean, it's coming in at the right moment, too. It's not coming in at some moment that is catching you off guard.
Probably 3 weeks after the drought started was the moment that most people thought it should come in.
Right.
But we're 3.5 years down the road now.
I don't think people were looking for it.
Not anymore. They just thought it was over with. God's not going to show up anymore. We're not going to get any rain.
No. It's interesting. It's interesting. Elijah continues. I think Elijah embodies that picture of his keeping his eyes towards God.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting here. And this is the thing. It's so easy to get caught up in what we do see when God does something.
Right.
Because Elijah goes on, he runs ahead of Ahab. You know, he's seen the fire come down, he's seen the rain show up, and all of that, and he gets there, and Ahab tells his wife Jezebel what has happened, and she's ticked. She hates Elijah. And she basically sends him a message and says, you know, may I die if the same thing that happened to our prophets doesn't happen to you by this time tomorrow. Now, Elijah's been out there against all these prophets and all this stuff going on, and this woman scares him.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes off to the wilderness and asks God to let him die.
Yeah, I know.
Just like that. Went from fire coming down, lapping up the water.
It just...
Which is a very good lesson for us, that this is not a relationship of the past or a relationship of the future.
Yeah, no, you're right.
This is a relationship of the moment.
Living in the moment, man. Of the now.
But even then, God's merciful on him.
Yeah. Oh, man.
But she must have been one bad woman if it scared Elijah.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
It's interesting. There's so many lessons here because you think about it. This shows Ahab never repented. He never turned toward God. He was afraid of God.
Right.
So there's a lesson there. A fear of God out of that type fear did him absolutely no good.
Nothing.
No good at all.
Right. Interesting.
He got in his chariot because he actually, when Elijah said the rain was coming, he believed him.
Oh, man.
But his faith did him absolutely no good because his faith was out of fear.
Right. Interesting.
It's the goodness of God that leads to repentance.
Yep.
I can't remember what the reference is to that, but it's, I want to say somewhere in Psalms.
It's his kindness. Yes, it leads us to, I'm trying to remember
the song.
Yep. Chris Tomlin. Good song.
Yeah, it figures I probably can't find it. But, yeah, so many good lessons there.
You know, sitting here talking about this today makes me go, all right, God, what are you up to? What are you up to? It's kind of cool to be slapping around in the known and then the unknown at the same time. Yeah. And I won't tell you why. Because it's always an adventure.
No, that's for sure. Nothing boring about it whatsoever.
Nope.
And there's all the unseen. I mean, there's so much of the unseen because there's so much of us that's unseen. Our emotions and stuff, just things that affect us that's on the inside.
Yeah, I know.
And then there's the unseen of God, and then sometimes there's the seen of God.
Right.
Things he'll bring across that we see that he's doing.
Right.
So you just never know.
That's why I like that picture of being as if I was in the ocean in this, you know what I'm saying? That whole picture of that being, every time I've been into the Gulf of Mexico or in the Pacific Ocean, either one, the Atlantic Ocean, either one, been in all three. Anytime I've ever stepped into one of those, how minuscule I felt, and tiny I felt, because there were some known things around me, but there were some unknown things out there in the midst of all that too. And it's such a great illustration of that whole thing that you just talked about. So it's pretty cool.
Well,
hey, listen, let's show some mercy here to some folks that may not walk through the doors every Sunday like you do. Yeah. And let's be compassionate towards them and do our best and to love them like Christ would love us. But that's a hard task to do, and I sure don't have it figured out. But I know that, whether we have it labeled on us or not, it doesn't matter.
It's funny how easy it is to show mercy to the publican, but how hard it is to show mercy to the Pharisee. Yet by not showing mercy to the Pharisee, you become one.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Because sin is sin, whether it's religious.
It sure is, man.
Or anything else. Same results.
Hey, what's driving, what's driving your comments and thoughts on the inside after listening to this, please? How can the folks get a hold of us out there? Because I feel like it's pretty easy to get a hold of us.
Doesn't seem that way lately. You can message on the Facebook page if you have that, if you're part of that. You can send email to Jason R.I. It's Jason at Taleo Ridge or Johnny at TaleoRidge.com.
Right.
Either one of those. Our phone numbers are on our Facebook pages.
Our everything is on our website.
Message us on Facebook. Multiple ways to
TaleoRidge.com.
Oh, Andy, we did watch that video and it was funny.
Andy,
because I haven't replied to that message.
Yes, that was good. That was very good. So, anyways, there's ways for us to communicate with you guys, and we want to hear from you. And thanks for all those who have mentioned that we like listening to your podcast. For those of you who like listening, we want to hear from you. We want to hear what your thoughts are, and we want to feed off of what your thoughts are, and
many times
give us opportunity to share.
When we have gotten comments, usually it sparks a
great conversation,
towards some conversation,
right? And believe me, this is no more planned than my next day is. Okay, when we come up here on Tuesdays now and meet, it's totally up in the air when we walk through the door, and that's why I like it so much. There are times when we go, hey, this is something good we can talk about, but a lot of times, you know what? We just rely upon God to feed the conversation, and guess what happens? Usually ends up showing up.
Turns out okay. I guess one thing I'd love to hear from people, because it's easy for me to know in my mind what I'm saying,
Right.
but I don't know what they're hearing.
Right.
And I'd love to know what you're hearing in what we say a lot of the times.
True
Just
that.
because maybe we can say it better, or maybe there's something we haven't been clear on, or things like that
Right.
that I'd love to be able to clear up.
All right. Cool. Well, I get my big opportunity Friday night.
Yeah.
I didn't mention this earlier.
Is this the announcing games? Or that's what I figured.
Oh, you got to be kidding me, man. I go in for one deal for this for these ladies, and I ham it up just a hair. You know, I go in there and have a good time with it.
Yeah.
And I'm doing a 4A playoff game Friday night at the gym here.
That's funny.
And I'm going to be announcing the pregame and the team, the rosters and stuff.
That's hilarious.
That's been hilarious because it was all just a favor for a friend, and all of a sudden, you know, it's like Goodson. Hey, Goodson can do this. Goodson can do that. Blah blah blah. This and
Yeah,
that.
you're gonna turn into a DJ. You're gonna end up doing this wedding reception.
Oh, you got to be no. Listen, that's he talking about being uncomfortable. There's going to be like 75 gray heads out there, and I'm going to be like, "Hey, let's play that funky music, white boy." They're going to be going, "Yeah,
Yeah.
Put a little Chuck Taylor in there."
Yeah, it's gonna be at a what I would call a mansion.
That's going to be cool. It'll be fun.
So anyway,
We'll see y'all next week.
have a good one.